Riley Owen stepped out of her car, squinting against the bright morning sun that promised another scorching day. She was weary from travel, her skin red and peeling from a recent sunburn that served as an unplanned souvenir from her last business trip, a week spent evaluating vineyards under the unforgiving sun. Clad in faded jeans and a loose, airy blouse, she felt quite unlike the glamorous, savvy businesswoman she knew she could be. The prestigious estate sprawled before her, elegant and meticulously maintained, a testament to its high status in the wine industry. The vineyard staff and guests, elegantly dressed for the occasion in freshly pressed shirts and chic suits, cast judgmental glances her way. She heard whispers, subtle enough to be missed yet loud enough to touch nerves, questioning her casual attire and unkempt appearance. The air carried a polished scent of luxury, one Riley was all too familiar with, but today, it felt distant. As she made her way across the gravel path, Grant, the vineyard manager, intercepted her with an arrogant, self-satisfied smirk. He was a tall man with a commanding presence, sporting a suit that mirrored the estate's grandeur. His eyes scanned Riley dismissively from head to toe, his smile widening. "Hey there," he called out, his tone dripping with condescension. "Why don't you help with the grape harvest?" "Sunblock is on the house," he added, mocking her sunburn and the informal apparel she wore. A mix of embarrassment and anger flared within Riley, but she steeled herself, letting only a composed smile break through. "Understood." Without another word, she walked down the path, leaving Grant to revel in his imagined conquest, her thoughts already focused on the significant day ahead. Riley felt the weight of the condescending stares as she walked away from Grant, their judgment evident though the murmurs faded. She had learned to mask her discomfort with a neutral expression, a skill honed through years in the business world where appearances often dictated first impressions. Grant's dismissive attitude stung, but Riley wasn't interested in immediate reparations. She knew time and place would unveil the truth soon enough. With deliberate steps, she veered off the path leading to the bustling vineyards and headed inside the grand estate, toward the cool sanctuary of the tasting room. The environment inside was a world apart, a sophisticated elegance encapsulated in oak barrels lining the walls, the rich, earthy aromas of aging wine saturating the air. The space was temperature-controlled, a stark contrast from the sweltering heat outside, offering a momentary reprieve for Riley's sunburned skin. As she approached a door marked private, her heart pulsed with anticipation and a trace of anxiety, an outcome not uncommon even for the seasoned professional. The meeting she was about to have with the HR director was pivotal, marking the official commencement of her role as the new vineyard owner. This meeting had been scheduled meticulously weeks in advance, yet her unscheduled early arrival added a layer of unpredictability and perhaps a chance to gauge others' first reactions unfiltered. Inside the office, the HR director, a poised woman named Marina, welcomed her with a warm smile and a firm handshake. Marina's calm demeanor radiated assurance, putting Riley instantly at ease. "Riley, it's wonderful to finally meet you in person," Marina said, offering her the chair across from her desk. "The team is excited about your arrival and the new direction you envision for the estate." Riley nodded, the tension from the earlier encounter with Grant dissolving as she eased into the narrative she owned. "Thank you, Marina. I'm thrilled to be stepping into this role. The vineyard has such potential, and I'm eager to work with everyone toward our shared vision." As they spoke, Riley outlined her plans, her aims to incorporate sustainable practices, enhance the estate's cultural footprint, and engage directly with the workers who formed the backbone of the vineyard's success. Her passion for the project was evident, her words carrying the weight of genuine intent rather than mere corporate jargon. Meanwhile, across the estate, Grant stood in the vineyard with a group of workers, his earlier bravado unstirred by doubt. Relishing the role of the dismissive overseer, he recounted his earlier encounter with Riley to his audience. His storytelling was animated as he described the scene with exaggerated amusement. "She looked like a fish out of water," he announced with a chuckle, drawing laughter from a couple of new interns who were too unseasoned to gauge the appropriateness of their participation. "Told her she could help with the harvest. Maybe get acquainted with the vineyard's most important resource up close." The veterans among the crew exchanged uneasy glances, recognizing Grant's familiar penchant for superiority cloaked in humor and aware of the potential folly in underestimating strangers at an estate like theirs. In the back of their minds, whispers of changes and transitions had been circulating, but specifics remained elusive. As the morning slipped by, the estate staff prepared for a formal gathering, ushering guests into the main tasting hall where Riley would be officially introduced as the new owner. The room was abuzz with anticipation, as both familiar and new faces took their places amidst the artfully arranged displays of wine selections and flowering centerpieces that adorned each section of the expansive room. Riley steeled herself for the introduction, conscious of the simple clothes she wore, but equally aware of the confidence ingrained in her esteem through past ventures and accomplishments. She had led teams before, overturned obstacles, and turned visions into reality without the hardened shell of pretentious attire. When Marina signaled it was time, Riley followed her to the podium. As she stepped forward, the room stilled, conversations falling silent as all eyes turned toward her. The contrast struck once more, her sunburned skin and laid-back apparel against the immaculate decor that surrounded her. Standing before them, she introduced herself, poised and articulate. "Ladies and gentlemen, staff and guests," she began, her voice steady and filled with resolve, "I am Riley Owens, the new owner of this vineyard. My journey in viticulture has led me here, and it is my honor and privilege to walk alongside and lead this renowned estate into its next chapter." Grant, who had slipped into the room only moments ago, stood paralyzed amidst the crowd, processing the sight of Riley not as a menial laborer but as his new superior. His earlier assumptions unraveled rapidly, embarrassment creeping upon him like the afternoon sun warming the room. Riley continued, "I have spent years in winemaking, from harvesting grapes alongside workers to establishing internationally acclaimed brands. My philosophy remains to honor tradition while embracing change and driving sustainable innovation in wine development." The respect in the room was palpable, attention unwavering as guest and employee alike recognized her authenticity and breadth of experience. It was a shift not just in authority but in cultural tone, from snickers to silent respect. As Riley concluded her speech, she invited questions and opened the floor for dialogue, emphasizing inclusivity. The energy in the room transformed, attendees eager to be part of the dynamic path she put forth. Grant's earlier levity seemed a distant shadow in the glow of acknowledgement Riley commanded. Returning to her seat, Riley noted Grant's discomfort from the corner of her eye, a brief satisfaction mingling with a steady, natural leadership attitude she held dear. Today marked not just a change in ownership but an enduring principle she stood by, authenticity and merit over appearances. As the formal announcement ended and the clattering applause died down in the tasting hall, the atmosphere shifted from anticipation to an engaging buzz of conversation. Riley observed the reactions, noting how the initial surprise transformed into eager curiosity among the guests and staff. Her confidence, understated yet compelling, had captured their attention and established a sense of genuine interest in what was to come. Grant, however, lingered at the fringes of the gathering, a contrast to the unanimously positive reception Riley received. The reality of the situation had settled in, his arrogant misstep exposed with unanticipated swiftness. His mind spun as he replayed the morning's encounter, each careless word he'd uttered echoing with newfound regret. Just as he attempted to blend into the crowd, a tap on his shoulder disrupted any hope of avoiding further humiliation. Marina, the HR director, appeared at his side, her expression neutral yet firm. "Grant," she said, her tone leaving no room for deflection. "Could you step into the office for a brief talk?" Head lowered, Grant nodded and followed her out of the tasting room, the muted hum of conversations trailing behind. Accompanying them was a quiet tension, one that Grant could feel tightening around him like an inevitable consequence. Once inside the office, Marina closed the door with a soft click, her posture both professional and expectant. Seated at the table with a collected, grounded presence of her own, Riley awaited their arrival. The room, though cool and softly lit, felt stifling to Grant, the weight of the impending discussion pressing down on him. "Take a seat, please," Marina gestured toward the open chair opposite Riley. Grant sat, the silence pensive as it filled the space, awaiting an acknowledgement of the situation they all understood. His earlier confidence sputtered under the scrutiny from Riley's calm gaze. "I believe introductions are in order," Riley finally spoke, her composure unwavering, yet offering a chance for professional equilibrium. "Grant, we haven't formally met. I'm Riley Owens." Grant shifted, meeting her eyes with an enforced sincerity. "Riley, he paused, recalibrating his words. "I'm sorry. I made a mistake earlier, one I regret having assumed and acted upon." Her nod was slight, measured. Assumptions lead us astray more often than we acknowledge. It's easy to confuse a book by its cover, isn't it? "I didn't mean," Grant began, but Riley raised a hand gently to pause him. "We're here not to dwell on past oversights," she continued, addressing him with a balance of understanding and accountability, "but rather to ensure a clear and respectful path forward. Our vineyard thrives on collaboration and respect across all strata." Marina took over, her voice structured yet non-accusatory. "Grant, your conduct this morning has prompted concern. It's important that managerial roles reflect the estate's ethos as exemplified by our values and leadership." Grant felt each word keenly, tracing back to his misjudgment. The mortification clung to him, yet Riley's handling of the matter left him with a shred of dignity to salvage. Despite the rebuke, there was an unstated opportunity for redemption in her gaze. In the ensuing moments, they discussed expectations, focusing on establishing a culture not driven by hierarchy but by effective dialogue and mutual regard. Riley's style promised an open-door policy, direct communication over insulated titles, a refreshing approach that brought hope even amid his professional stumble. Returning to the tasting room after the meeting felt like stepping over a line between past actions and future amends for Grant. The assemblage was re-engaged in conversation, tasting rich wines, and speculating about the new owner's plans. A slight hush descended once more as Riley returned, her natural composure drawing eyes across the room. To Grant's relief, her demeanor carried no hint of their prior discussion, her attention instead devoted to mingling and exchanging ideas with those present. Grant fluttered at the periphery of the gathered crowd, aware that rebuilding trust and standing would be a gradual process. Yet, Riley's professional grace and avoidance of singling him out publicly during her return proceedings lent him hope. The vineyard wasn't only reinventive in its craft but forgiving in human follies. Interacting now with forthrightness, Riley blended seamlessly with veterans and newcomers alike, seamlessly articulating her vision of legacy fortified by innovation. She was met with enthusiasm, seasoned appreciations for preserving wine tradition juxtaposed against modern sustainable initiatives, a perfect conduit bridging stories of past successes with charts mapping imminent growth. She encouraged them to look forward to tirelessly. Throughout the gathering, Riley's presence shimmered with grounded authority not confined to the wealth of her acquisition but emanating from her personal spectrum of passions, each anecdote on international acclaim serving a palatable counterpoint encouraging teamwork and persistence, never taking pride for granted nor glory singularly held. As the dispersion began, Grant remained contemplative in a corner, forming resolve as verbal commitments echoed from applause-spattered closure, a new dawn marked not just by owners' acquired prestige but bonds of deliberate acceptance weaving over premature judgments, inviting willing contributors to an inclusive ensemble rallying toward vineyard life renewed. Humbled and inspired, he pondered how his day at Glory Estate might have unraveled if fate hadn't whisked unfamiliar threads of change past old norms. Thus, amidst wine-fragrant and tantalizing futures new owners ushered, Grant swore silently, never again to succumb so fast to presumption's pale shade trailing from station's veil. Riley Owens, in her humble simplicity, had transformed the estate not just by name but with authenticity demanding inherent dignity from root to harvest. Riley stood in the center of the room, the soft glow of twilight filtering through the large picture windows, casting a warm hue over the gathering. The initial formalities completed, she now faced a group eager to delve deeper into the narrative behind the new leadership. Even those initially skeptical had been won over by her clear vision and confident demeanor. "I've always believed," she began, her voice carrying the same strength that marked her earlier address, that a vineyard isn't just defined by its wine, but by those who bring it to life. From the richness of the soil to the care in the winemaking process, each detail matters. And so does every person. Her words struck a note of authenticity, turning polite curiosity into genuine interest. She continued by sharing her story, weaving a tapestry of professional experiences that highlighted her evolution from novice winemaker to esteemed entrepreneur. She spoke of her early days, working alongside seasoned vintners in the fields of Napa Valley, learning the intricacies of the craft with hands-on wisdom. "I was fortunate," she recounted, "to learn from the masters, not just about making wine but understanding its soul. That's what brought me here. Wine is a labor of love, one that requires patience, respect for traditions, and the courage to innovate." The sommelier standing beside her, a seasoned and well-respected member of the vineyard, nodded enthusiastically when called upon by Riley to share a few words about her credentials. Riley built an internationally recognized wine brand, he attested, voice imbued with admiration. Her work in sustainable practices and market expansion didn't just bolster profits but set a benchmark for ethical winemaking. The audience listened intently, intrigued not only by her accomplishments but by her approach. Riley's humility was contagious, bridging gaps between hierarchy and camaraderie. She projected an ethos of leading with participation and empowering every member of her team, from the vineyard workers to the executive board. Her talk turned more personal, recalling a recent venture overseas. "When I worked in Tuscany, morning harvests became lesson grounds not only about grapes but human nature. I'd often dress simply, much like the workers there, as a form of solidarity. These experiences taught me about relational dynamics, how pretenses fall away when you're seen as one of them." As a segue into her current attire and the sunburn that colored her skin, Riley chuckled self-effacingly. "Trust me, this sunburn is not part of some undercover strategy," she joked lightly, drawing smiles and laughter from the crowd. "I was at another vineyard last week, helping with the late harvest, and underestimated the Tuscan sun. My luggage didn't make the connection, so here I am in yesterday's travel gear." Her candidness was refreshing, breaking down reservations and reinforcing authenticity. The room collectively appreciated the transparency, transforming residual skepticism into admiration. A story ostensibly bound to misperceptions unfolded into an endearing tale of humility and ambition, a relatable leader unafraid to embrace imperfections while championing a visionary path. Inspired, a few staff members and guests, some well-experienced in viticulture themselves, began to ask questions, and the conversation pleasantly deepened. Riley fielded inquiries about her plans for expanding community involvement, how she intended to promote local artistry alongside technological advancements, and her dedication to setting sustainable practices as benchmarks within the industry. Her intention to integrate educational programs for workers and students into the vineyard's culture resonated profoundly, highlighting her commitment toward knowledge sharing and development beyond the immediate returns of production. This notion, she emphasized, was paramount to building lasting impacts, not just economic gains, but community enrichment and empowerment. The crowd's palpable enthusiasm reinforced Riley's underlying goal of fostering an environment of inclusiveness and growth. Even those who were previously aloof began warming to the infectious energy spreading from Riley's leadership style. Her resonance was not solely dictated by her financial prowess but through a genuine affinity for collaboration, inviting others to embark on a shared journey of discovery and excellence. Amidst the engaging dialogue, eyes met with mutual recognition, translating furtive glances to knowing nods, all within reach of a shared destiny transiting under Riley's capable stewardship. As the evening progressed, small groups formed, each abuzz with conversations sparked from her presentation. Clusters of staff and guests, every walk of life mingling together, dissected the myriad possibilities Riley's vision promised. Peer-to-peer, ideas exchanged and tentative partnerships explored under the backdrop of the warm evening sun dipping beyond vineyard vistas. The aura of camaraderie blossomed organically from Riley's inclusive ethos. Even Grant found himself pulled into discussions reflecting newfound appreciation for the broader aspiration. Where unease and anticipation once colored the backdrop, there now persisted optimism. It was a transformation not in status but culture, aligning talents and ambitions with purposeful direction. An estate renowned for its past yet partially obscured by formal representation now stood renewed under leadership that balanced practicality with grandeur in subtle stride. It bespoke a sensory experience curated with each harvest, each moment spent nurturing partnerships, and each grape burst with promise. Riley's eyes surveyed the scene one last time before departing, filled not with pride for the day's triumph, but with earnest gratitude for the open minds meeting hers around every corner of Glory Estate. Her heart swelled, intent on ensuring dignity and growth for every soul crossed within its fertile grounds, seeds of change gleaming with potential sown through humility, bearing fruit for seasons far beyond the present harvest. The evening's discussions extended well into the night, the warmth of camaraderie and shared vision drawing the congregation closer. As the tasting hall emptied, Riley lingered for a moment, surveying the elegant yet daunting legacy she had embraced. Each glass raised in her honor buoyed her hope, and every handshake exchanged had infused her with conviction. But the real mark of her first day would be measured not just by today's announcements, but by tomorrow's collaborations. Meanwhile, Grant had stood near the back, having rejoined the group after their private meeting. Humility had replaced the earlier arrogance, tracing lessons shaped by experience and meaningful interaction. His reverence tinged with a determination to rectify initial missteps towards a constructive future underscored the growing respect he felt for Riley. As the last of the guests filed out, Marina approached Riley, a soft smile framing her comforting words. "Tonight was a success, Riley. You've sparked a fire that I can already see will rekindle enthusiasm around here. Even Grant seems moved by your presentation. He's asking staff about upcoming harvest procedures," she mentioned, her voice tinged with approving surprise. Riley nodded, aware that despite initial impressions, everyone had the potential to change and grow. "I'm glad," she replied quietly. "Everyone deserves a chance to show what they're truly capable of. I see potential not just in the vines but in every person here." When the hall was finally still, save for the soft lull of twilight settling over the vines outside, Riley found herself lingering. She felt connected, not just with the physicality of the vineyard but with its pulse, the collective heartbeat of a team unified under a common banner. She turned to find Grant approaching her, his expression tentative but resolute. The earlier bravado replaced by a genuine humility, he appeared ready to embrace a new chapter, both for himself and for Glory Estate. And perhaps, most importantly for Riley, it was a moment of convergence of respect earned over respect demanded. "Riley," he began, clearing his throat. "Thank you for your patience, and for not calling out my behavior earlier in front of everyone else. It meant a lot, and I appreciate the chance to prove that I can contribute meaningfully here." Riley met his gaze, seeing earnest determination and recognizing the sincerity in his words. "We've all been there, Grant," she acknowledged. "It takes more to own up than it does to bluff. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can achieve together with a fresh start." A nod exchanged, subtle yet heavy with promise, sealed an understanding transcending their earlier confrontation. Grant's shoulders relaxed, the tension dissipating as acceptance replaced lingering doubts within. As Riley stepped outside, the vineyard lay before her bathed in moonlight, a sprawling testament to the heritage she'd claimed, now intertwined with her legacy. Taking a deep breath, she inhaled the earthy fragrance, feeling a sense of belonging that extended beyond ownership into stewardship. Her footsteps traced along the cobblestone path, the estate sprawling under her watchful eye. The anticipation within her bolstered by the evening's affirmations, employees welcoming her vision, noting her authenticity, and aligning under her guidance. She embodied the humility of a learner yet held the authority inherent with leadership, the delicate balance that summoned respect through merit. Riley walked amidst the slumbering vines, reflecting over each introduction and conversation. Her heart now pulsed in rhythm with the gentle breeze lapping at canopies of grape leaves. The dialogue begun today would nurture relationships as fertile as the soil beneath her feet. Far-reaching possibilities surfaced with each step, imagining expansions, growth charts, and community accolades. But more profound was the promise of friendships to nurture and professional bonds to cultivate, quorum forging ahead in her stead, sunburned or otherwise. With confidence fully restored, she approached the estate's main house with resolve, her spirit unfettered and emboldened by the day's events. Though newly acquired, inequalities recognized and addressed, individuality acknowledged, collaboration extended. Riley saw the vineyard not just as an asset but as a place for transformative experiences. For every expert exchanging industry knowledge over barrels to every novice brushing first blush with winemaking enchantment by her side. The path ahead was far from clear, unmapped territories inviting curiosity much as the vine-twisting trellises spanning both horizon and heart. Yet with each plan solidifying in her mind, unified by intention and supported by a reinvigorated team, Riley sensed the course firm, strategic yet authentic, visionary yet practical, edges softened under grace, sharpened by purpose. Riley Owens, the sunburned yet unassailable proprietor of Glory Estate, cast one last look over the sleeping vineyards and felt their promise take root in her soul. She could envision countless harvests, abundant with taste, texture, and memories, echoing the night's successes into the morrow. As the horizon hinted at tomorrow through the kaleidoscope of stars above, Riley's evening wound down amidst the simplicity of elegance surrounding, pillars of support, distilled to essence, truth resonating beyond facade, weaved into glory's revival. This was only the beginning, but it was a fruitful one, strengthened by aspiration anchored in genuine connection and respectful leadership. The night air whispered of dreams realized, and as Riley stepped inside, it was with assurance. She wouldn't just revive the vineyard, but enrich its legacy with the blessing of each sunrise, seeds maturing, ever entwined with her own miraculous journey in the realms of vine and vinification alike. The vineyard had embraced her, now it was her turn to nurture it into its next chapter of triumph.